Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm Devin Rose. Thank you for joining us again. Today's topic is one that I almost didn't do, and that is, do Catholics worship Mary? The short answer is no. Catholics don't worship Mary. It's funny because I was a Baptist at one point in time and had a fear of the Catholic Church because I thought that it gave Mary too much credit, too much honor, maybe even too much worship or worshipped her. But once I actually learned what the Catholic Church taught, I realized that that was not the case at all. So let's talk about it a little bit. And first, let's ask a different question. Has there ever been any Catholic anywhere in the world over the past 2,000 years who has incorrectly, improperly worshipped Mary? And I think the answer to that is yes. I bet you can find a Catholic who has worshipped Mary before. And they may have done it out of confusion, out of ignorance of the Church's teachings. But in doing so, they were going directly against what the Church taught. So you really do have to look at the Church's teachings. A lot of Protestants think that Catholics worship Mary because they'll go into a Catholic church. And what will they see? Well, they'll see a statue of Mary or an image of Mary. And they'll see a Catholic kneeling before this image or before this statue. And for a Protestant, alarm bells go off because you only kneel when you're going to worship God in Protestantism. It's kind of just the custom. And secondly, in Protestantism, you don't have statues, and you rarely have an image of a saint. You might in some Protestant churches, but not in a lot of them. So that then, the Protestant thinks this person's worshiping Mary. Oh my goodness, it's horrible. And it's not necessarily the case. Usually, a Catholic who's following the Church's teachings, they're just asking Mary to pray for them. Asking Mary to pray with them to Jesus. Just as you might ask your friend, your mother, your sister at church to pray with you or to pray for you. It's the same kind of idea. And that gets into the communion of saints, which will have to be a topic for another podcast. Protestants also don't believe that you should ask a saint in heaven to pray for you, only a saint here on earth. So that's another issue that it'll take longer to delve into. One interesting thing that came up when I did a search in Google for Worship Mary, several Protestant sites noted that in 431 AD, the Catholic Church, the Council of Ephesus, declared Mary to be the Mother of God. And that's correct. That's one of the first ecumenical councils was in Ephesus, 431 AD, and Theotokos, or Mother of God, was declared to be dogma. The Protestant sites decided that this was when the Catholic Church officially declared worshiping Mary to be dogma. And there's an error here in their thinking, or a few errors. One is the fact that, quite simply, Jesus is God, and Mary is the mother of Jesus. So Mary is the mother of God. There's no way around that. You can't deny it unless you want to deny that Christ is God. And no Protestant wants to do that. Now then, there's a misconception though. Mary is not the mother of God before all eternity. God is. He created everything. He's before time. Mary's not. Mary's a created being. She was lived 2,000 years ago. And so that it's an error to think that Mother of God means that she's the Mother of God the Father, or the Mother of God in His eternal generation. What it does affirm is that Jesus is both God and man. And that can't be denied if you want to call yourself a Christian. So the other problem with that for a Protestant to think about is these sites claim that the Church had then gone into apostasy by the early 400s. But that's around the same time that the Church was finalizing her discernment of the canon of Scripture. So the books of the Bible themselves were still being sifted from those that were inspired from those that were not inspired around this time. So if the Church went into apostasy by this time, well, how confident can you be that the Bible that you have are the actual books God inspired? I mean, it wasn't until 367 AD that the first church father got the New Testament 27 books exactly right, and that was St. Athanasius. And it's important to note that his Old Testament actually doesn't match either the Catholic or the Protestant church's Old Testament. But he did get the New Testament, and that wasn't until the late 4th century. So, this is a little bit on worship of Mary. The Catholic Church does not teach that you should worship Mary. It teaches the opposite. Worship is due to God alone. We should honor Mary, honor the saints. Father Karapi had a great line. He said, if Mary is good enough for Jesus, she's good enough for me. And I agree with that. This is Devin Rose. Thanks for tuning in again to the podcast and watching. Remember to love and worship Jesus and honor Mary, his mother. God bless.